On this week's Loudini Hard Rock and Metal Circus, counting down the top 10 bands of the new wave of British metal. Stick around. You're listening to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, changing rock history one podcast at a time. Welcome back, everybody. Loudini Hard Rock and Metal Circus.
Now he's a pirate.
I am, and boom goes the pirate dynamite. Right, Lily? Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the bands of the new wave of British heavy metal. Okay, we're not talking about new wave. There's been some confusion this week. There's not going to be no Culture Club, no Depeche Mode.
Has nobody heard of this genre? Is not a...
No. People know this. A lot of people are, but there's been a few people. So I just for those of you out there, for the dimmer portion of our listening audience, I just wanted to clarify that. So y'all know what we're talking about. Okay, you good on that? So we're gonna be getting that into a second. First of all, Loudini Hard Rock and Metal Circus. Our website is loudinirockandrollcircus.com. Tons of cool stuff there, as always. Just want to introduce myself real quick. For those of you who don't know, we get some new listeners all the time. We actually have a new affiliate that I'm going to tell you guys about here in a second. My name is Lou Lombardi, a.k.a. Loudini. I am a musician, first and foremost, but I'm so passionate and so excited about great music and all the other bands that I love that I have a podcast where I talk about all the great things that I love about music, and I bring in some very cool people to do this with me. And one of the coolest people I've ever had work with me on this is the lady sitting next to me right now is Miss Lily V6.
And I am not a musician.
Lily is not a musician, but she is.
I'm a super fan.
She's a super fan, and she's also our resident rock historian. So we're going to have a great show tonight. We're going to be talking about these great bands, and I just want to give you guys a little bit of background about who I am and what I do. I want to say, first of all, shout out to Rock Rage Radio. They've been our affiliate for a long time, and we love you guys. Kisses, smiles for the Rock Rage Ragers. But I want to welcome our new affiliate, which is Classic 92.3. Thank you guys so much. There will be more details coming about that. Those of you who are listening on Classic 92.3, shoot me an email. Let me know how it sounds, what you like, what you think. You can email me at lou@loulombardimusic.com. And I'd love to get some feedback from you guys, but we're brand new there. This will be the first show. In fact, I'm not exactly sure even what time they're going to be airing. I believe we're on Saturdays at 4. So I will be clarifying that this week. But I'll be sending them this show. So this will be the first show that they are going to put up on their station. So, sweet. Yes. So welcome Classic 92.3 to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus family. All right, that was a mouthful. So, Lily, while I get this little thing here set up, why don't you tell the boys and girls something cool?
Something cool. So, since the last time we spoke, as you know, I go to shows all the time. I went to see The Damn Things last Thursday at the Rex Theater, which was freaking awesome.
It looked great.
Oh, my gosh. I was right up front, and I got to hear it well, see everything. Oh, my gosh. It was fantastic, and wow, that's all I really have to say about it.
But now Scott Ian is in that.
Yes, it's a super group, but I actually only know Scott Ian from Anthrax in there. I don't know who the rest of the people are. So,
but from what I heard from the sound bites that you upload, I should go and listen to them. From what I heard, it's not Anthrax type music.
It's not at all. It's not at all. It's more just rock. No metal mixed in there. It's definitely rock, and it's fun, and they're really fun. And they talk to you and everything, and I'm almost got my boobs stepped on by the one guy who was jumping out from the stage because of my, I was, leaning over, but
boob stepping.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was a great time. Also, Saturday in Millvale, we had our Millvale Music Festival. It's the third annual one. They hold that in Pittsburgh every year to showcase the local new artists. And I did get to see a lot of our bands. Well, the bands I play, Max Out and Stone Cold Killer. A new band debuted, Victoria Fire, this week. They were fantastic. I can't wait to talk to them. You might want to talk to them about some interviews too. They're pretty cool.
Do they have a record?
Not yet. They're working on it. Already spoke to them about that. I told them as soon as they get it, email things to
You want to send
us.
it? Yep.
And then Monday, I saw Metal Church.
Oh, and how was Metal Church?
They were also fantastic. Opened by Storm Dragon, who we've had on the show, and White Thrash, who I had played a couple of their songs before. They were a little heavier. Now they're a little bit more rock than metal. So I really enjoyed them as well. So,
and where was that show?
That was at the Craft House.
The Craft
So I was everywhere.
Lily
as usual.
Is everywhere. She's like the floating around the world Lily that we all know and love.
The social dragonfly, because I'm not a butterfly.
So, I like that social dragonfly. All right, guys. Well, we are going to, speaking of this, we are going to play some great music for you guys tonight. And this is the first band for those of you who don't know, we do an after party in a private group, and that's where my hardcore fans hang out. And those guys are always throwing music at me. And I ran this post a few weeks ago saying, hey, send me some music. Because I'm looking for new shit. I don't got time to constantly research everything. You guys send me something you think is cool, because I'm looking for bands for the podcast, etc. So, somebody responded in kind with a bunch of guys responded with some very cool bands. But this is a band that I just discovered through that post, and it's called They're called Black Whiskey. It's a track called Here to Stay, Black Whiskey, on the Loudini Hard Rock and Metal Circus. Black Whiskey, everybody. And let me go ahead and give you the website for these fine, upstanding gentlemen. That is Black Whiskey AUS. AUS is a sort of abbreviation for Australia, if you're from Australia. So blackwhiskyaus.com is the website. Check those mothers out and get all the stuff, because they are a very cool band. I like them. What do you think? Pretty cool, huh?
I like them very much.
Yeah.
That's my stuff.
Brand new to me. So I'm really digging them. So we got the sort of intro business out of the way. We're getting kind of warmed up here. We're going to get into the topic.
We got a lot of people on.
Would you guys, if you wanted me to change things up a bit, say, hey, can you just get into the topic? If you'd like us to do that, you want us to do something a little different, you have a suggestion, again, email me at lou@louLombardimusic.com. Anybody listening to Rock Rage Radio or Classic 92.3, we're always up to feedback. Shoot us an email. If you'd like to send me whiskey, I'm all about that too. Email me and I'll give you my address. Wow. So the topic today is the new wave of British metal. So first of all, why don't we kind of take a little step back and talk about exactly what that is and how that this whole concept got started in the first place.
We can do that. You want to do that?
Let's do it.
Okay, so new wave of British heavy metal, or NWOBHM, which was a really silly abbreviation. Nationwide musical movement that started in the UK in the late 70s, was internationally known by the early 80s. It was coined by journalist Jeff Barton in the May 1979 issue of British music newspaper Sounds. And it was to describe the emergence of new heavy metal bands in the mid to late 70s during the period of when punk was declining and new music was coming in. Or the dominance of new wave music, but anyway, it began as an underground phenomenon growing in parallel with punk, and was largely ignored by the media, which I'm sure punk people don't like media anyway, and neither do the new wave of British heavy metal people. It's the infusing of classic heavy metal with pub rock and some punk rock, crossing over genres. So that's sort of what it is. And they mostly shunned ballads. I mean, although some of the bands did come up with ballads later on, but initially no ballads were in there. Now this is where the music stuff comes in, but de-emphasized harmonies and produced shorter songs with fast tempos and aggressive sound based off of riffs and power chords. And vocals ranged from high-pitched wails to gruff low growls.
So stylistically, it was a little bit of an amalgam of what had been happening merged now into metal, which was originally started by Sabbath 10 years eight years ago. So this was the new generation. These were the kids who were like loved Sabbath but had also had their ear to the ground of what was happening in England.
New stuff.
And they were bringing that into the, into their version of heavy metal. So that's the sort of gist of it. And yes, it was something to kind of sell magazines. The phrase, that's all that it was. But boom, it's just funny. It's just how that stuck.
It was one of those things where new music needed to come in because punk was dying. Sort of like when we got that 90s garbage.
That 90s garbage.
When 80s glam was dying.
That 90s garbage.
Just to reiterate, Fran, we are talking about the top 10 new wave of British heavy metal bands. They asked what the topic was. So.
And we have a lot of comments from you guys out there this week, so we're going to be giving shout outs to everybody. We love the input because it gets us thinking about stuff. So let's go ahead, Lil, and give us the let's start with your countdown for. So what do you got for number 10?
My number 10 is Samson, and the reason I chose them, they were formed in '77 during the movement, and they started with Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden,
right, the precursor, to
and
Iron
Clive
Maiden.
Burr. So
who?
Clive Burr from Iron Maiden.
Oh.
He was in it as well. So you sort of got to count them, even though they didn't last very long, but you got to count them just because they have Bruce and Clive in there doing their thing pre Iron Maiden.
Right. What's the movie that song that he's in?
I just talked to Lance about this last night.
Yeah, it's really
Incubus.
The movie's called Incubus.
Yeah, it's on Prime right now, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And there's a scene in there where the band Samson's playing.
Yes.
And you're going like, that's Bruce Dickinson. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Bruce Dickinson.
God, there he is.
Okay, so number 10, we have Samson. Mm-hmm. Who do you have for number 9?
Number 9, I have Diamond Head. They were formed in '76. They were one of the leading members of the movement. They're acknowledged by Metallica and Megadeth to be an early influence of the for their music. They never reached the commercial success that they really deserved, though, because they really didn't get a record deal soon enough. And when they did get assigned to a label, it was to the wrong one. It wasn't working out. So they just sort of sounded too commercial for what they were trying to achieve at the time, and it just didn't work, and they eventually died off. But they were part of the movement when it first started. So,
now, what was the song? Metallica has a cover of that.
Yeah.
Am I Evil?
Yeah.
That, and I never knew the Diamond Head version of it until kind of recently. I always just knew the Metallica version of it. That's because one of the things Metallica did was they would play other people's songs without announcing or telling anybody that it was the other person's song. I'm not criticizing that, but what it did for them was allow them to play some awesome material, and people just assumed it was their song. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that's what they did. And so that's why some of that song is so associated with Metallica, even though it's not a Metallica song. Yeah. And, back in the days, guys, kids, you guys don't know this, but before this band, I don't even, you guys are probably too young to ever heard of this band called the Beatles. But before the Beatles, there were songwriters and then there were performers. And a lot of singers sang songs that were written by songwriters, and many songs were hits over and over by different people. It was a very common thing. It was nobody ever batted an eye about it. It was just who did it? This person did it, and this song became a hit again. And it was just a song that was kind of in the record label's catalog, and the bands or the artists would sing those songs that the songwriters would write. So bands doing other people's songs.
That wasn't a thing.
That isn't really I'm not one of these people that feels hey, shame on you. Yeah. Especially when you're introducing the world to a band and a song that people may never really have heard because of the situation that Lily just described. So I think it's pretty cool, and I say kudos to Metallica for kind of getting that out there.
Sort of reviving
Yeah.
the song.
Yeah, getting
the
people.
band.
I mean, it did. It wasn't even vived.
Right.
They vived it. It hadn't been.
They
even,
vived it initially.
Yeah, they didn't even. Yeah, because Diamond Head couldn't really get it because
They couldn't get it together.
they had business shit that happened to fuck them up.
And shit happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all know that. That's the rock and roll cliche. So, what do you got for number 8, girl?
So number 8 is going to be Angel Witch, 1977. Again, inspired Lars Ulrich to form Metallica. And their debut album, Angel Witch, was actually considered one of the most notable albums of that movement. That band had died so many times and resurrected so many times. It's not what it was now, but they do still tour. And it's a more Americanized version than a new wave British heavy metal version, but they do still tour. But I feel like since their debut album was literally one of the most notable, they had to be on the list.
Are they one of these bands that tour has a bigger following in the UK?
They do
in Europe than they do in
of
America?
course, yes, absolutely. They do still do a couple festivals and stuff wherever they can, but absolutely, people are gonna be a bigger follower in the UK than
Well,
here.
I mean, that's the thing, guys. I heard somebody called Eddie Trunk's show the other day and said, "Well, why isn't Brittany Fox touring?" And he said to the guy, he's like, "Okay." He said, "I think they want like 7,500. So are you going to pay them 7,500 and book the gig and have 25 people show up to remember like the one song they had on MTV?"
that they're famous for.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Some of these bands can do really, really well in Europe. Brazil
They
is
can
big.
sell out stadiums over there.
Yeah,
They can't sell
I
that
told a story
here.
about my friend who was in Rhapsody of Fire, and that's a band that I'm kind of aware of. Lily's probably peripherally aware of, but they're really nothing in the U.S. But they play giant festivals and huge. When they would play 5,000 seat venues all over Europe and Japan and Brazil. They come to America, they're playing clubs.
They're playing the Rex.
They're playing little clubs with 4 other bands, to 50 people.
I mean, unfortunately, that's a thing here.
So a lot of these bands that you guys really love and you don't get to see a lot, it's because it just isn't financially viable for them to play in America. There just isn't the following. Different culture, different mindset. Mm-hmm. So that was number what?
8.
Give me number 7.
Number 7. Some people will agree with this. Some people will not agree with this. I already know. You probably know what I'm going to say, but Def Leppard. Yes, later on, they were definitely more in the glam genre, but they started out as new wave. They were not very commercially successful until Mutt Lange came in and produced High and Dry. And Bringing on the Heartbreak became one of the first rock videos played on MTV in 82. Like I said, they crossed over into the glam style later on. It really worked for them. They were much more money in that case. They didn't like to be called glam, though. They still didn't think they were. It didn't define their style to them. However, they sold more than 100 million records worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole show on Def Leppard.
Yeah.
I think Def Leppard for me is a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I love their earlier stuff, and Hysteria, I get it. Those are some very catchy, fun songs, very, very pop. It's cool. Pour Some Sugar on Me is every stripper's anthem.
Every girl's anthem. Forget stripper.
But it wore thin with me really quick. It was just too
sugary.
Too produced. Too I kind of got to Pyromania, and I was like, if they could have done Pyromania, kept doing Pyromania, oh hey, I would have been great with that. I think that record is to me, Pyromania is all killer, no filler. Just one great song after another. High and Dry is a great album too. But I heard Joe Elliott talk about this, saying that those songs enabled them to kind of really explode and tour and do and they are one of those bands that can go out and play big shows
and they
play
do
all over the world, and they don't whereas some of these other bands are limited to what they can do. To me, it's to me, I'm in it for the music. I'd rather see a band a little more smaller following and things like that, and still playing really vicious rock. But look at Slayer.
Slayer's awesome. I don't care.
There's no, you don't have to be pop to, there's more to it than that. But that's a topic for good.
I would go see Def Leppard in a heartbeat anytime. I don't care. They are absolutely sugary now, and I'm okay with it. But I got to put them in the category just because they started out.
I mean,
I put them in the middle-ish.
I mean, you're not going to like this at all. Don't smack me. Don't throw that beer bottle at me. But they're kind of like Nickelback. Yeah, they're just poppy rock kind of band. Yeah. They've done the same records since Hysteria over and over and over. They've done the same thing. They found their comfort zone. They just stay in their comfort zone. That's all.
We're going to have a chat after the show tonight. Because he just compared Def Leppard to Nickelback, and I have a huge problem with that.
Leopard back.
And Chris Pulaski says hi.
Hi. Hey, Chris. So go ahead. So that was what, number 7?
That was 7.
Let's give me number 6, and we're going to play a song.
All right. So number 6, I have Girls' School. 1978, frequently associated with Motorhead. And the reason they are on my list is why, Lou? Why do you think they're on my list?
Because they're called Girls' School.
And they're girls. So I have to give love to the ladies, especially during a time when there weren't very many female rock or metal bands. So they are the longest running all female rock band still active for over almost 40 years now.
Wow.
So they're on my list.
Coolness.
Chicks.
All right, so go ahead and run down those 5 before we play the next song.
Okay.
And then we'll come back.
Number 10 was Samson. 9, Diamond Head. 8, Angel Witch. 7, Def Leppard, a.k.a. Nickelback. And number 6 is Girls' School.
Leopard back. All right, guys. Stick around. We're going to do the top 5 when we come back. In the meantime, let's rock out to this band right here. Mississippi Bones and the Loudini Hard Rock and Metal Circus. The incomparable Mississippi Bones on the Loudini Hard Rock and Metal Circus. Somebody said, we couldn't hear you over the intro of the music. So that's what I said. Mississippi Bones. Okay? That's what it is. And you can go to mississippibones.bandcamp.com. Check them out. Great band. I believe they are in Ohio. Bunch of gentlemen. So check them out. I've been a fan of Mississippi Bones for about 5 years now, and they keep putting out just absolutely solid, totally solid.
I like his vocals.
Yeah, just very, very cool stuff. So we are discussing this new wave of British heavy metal. So you want to talk about Culture Club next?
That's not on here. That's not on my list. Stop it.
I mean, I think that I would say that Def Leppard is like the Culture Club of.
Oh my God! I'm gonna crush you.
So so Nickelback and Creed walk into a bar. I'm just kidding.
And they get shot in the face by Lily V6. Poo-pooed.
Okay, so. Let's get into number 5. So let's recap our first 10
our
through
first
6 first.
5 here, or 10 to 6, 10 to 5, sorry. Samson is number 10. Number 9 is Diamond Head. Number 8, Angel Witch. Number 7, Def Leppard. And number 6, Girls' School.
Girls' School.
My bitches.
That sounds a little
It's a little
crazy.
It's a little dirty. Little grimy. Eat you.
No way to go there. That sounds crazy, Lily. Crazy.
That's the Catholic school I went to.
Oh, God. Where did you go? St. Hilary's?
St. Hilary and then John F. Kennedy.
Oh, God.
I know.
And look how she turned out.
Hey, I'm fantastic.
You are fantastic. So
we weren't allowed to listen to all that heavy metal, though.
That's why you're making up for it now. So why don't we get into number 5? What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Venom.
Who?
Venom.
Oh, I think you said them. I'm like, not them. Them is that band from the 60s. Oh, Venom.
Yeah. Venom became more prominent towards the end of the movement. They were considered to be more of an influence on thrash and extreme metal later on. And their second album actually was influential enough that the title black metal was used as the name of a subgenre of metal later on as well. But they're more towards the end of the genre, though.
So, like,
movement.
When you say and, like, what years?
Oh, 78. British heavy metal is like mid-70s to early 80s.
Okay.
But they were 78,
So
they were towards
what
that.
happens then, I guess, after the new wave is the glam metal.
Yeah,
stuff.
glam metal came after that.
Right,
Thank you.
I got
Thanks, Def Leppard.
They progressed.
Yes, glam metal.
I mean,
and then, of course, they started breaking off into all these subgenres. That we had a whole podcast on it. There's like 75 of them now, right?
Right. But, I mean, some of those bands continued to remain true to what they did and still had big success. And I think some of the ones we're going to talk about coming up here. So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Motorhead.
Motorhead.
1975, so closer to the beginning. Lemmy was the sole consistent member of Motorhead. They had 22 studio albums, 10 live, 12 compilation, and 5 EPs, spanning over a career of 40 years.
Damn.
They're considered, and I read this, to be a precursor to the new wave of British heavy metal. But their fusion of punk into the genre kept them in that movement, and they pushed speed and thrash metal later on. And Lemmy says that they were a rock and roll band and not a heavy metal band. I'd have to disagree with Lemmy. Sorry. Up there.
There's a great documentary. Have you seen it?
I have to watch it. I
It's
have to catch up.
about Lemmy. It's well, I mean, it's like, it takes place kind of at the end of his life, so he's like an old man, but he's still like even at that age was still like,
He's quirky.
yeah, he was still living it, man. He was still like, he was balls out. So who is your next one?
So the last 3 are they were sort of hard to choose. A 3, 2, 1. My one is very obvious to everybody, as it always is. But my number 3 is going to be Saxon, formed in 77. They are one of the leaders of the movement and one of Europe's greatest metal acts. They had huge success in Europe, Japan, and then eventually the United States. More than 23 million albums worldwide were sold. And they also influenced Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, Testament, all of those guys. And I'm going to lose my voice. But yeah.
Okay. And
One of the leaders.
So the top 2 here are have the ones that have not been mentioned that you guys are all probably going like, why haven't they talked about them?
Someone did ask.
So we're going to talk about those 2 bands right now.
Okay.
So go ahead with the first one.
My number 2 is going to be Judas Priest. They actually were formed in 1969, didn't become famous till the new wave of British heavy metal in the 70s. They definitely are metal gods, for sure. Sold over 50 million copies of their albums worldwide. And they are one of the greatest metal bands of all time. Frontman.
Period.
Yeah. Stamped. So they're my number 2 because we all know who my number 1 is.
Well, I mean, these guys this is another example of a band that carried on, even though they didn't break real big during the glam metal thing of the 80s, but they carried on.
But they were so prominent.
They had songs that like I rocked out to on the radio during that era.
They stayed popular throughout the entire time.
Yeah,
they never faltered, really.
Right. I mean, they were a little bit on the periphery, but no, and I think the fact that the talent, at that time people cared about the talent. The talent was there between Rob Halford's just amazing voice, just like, I mean, he can sound like, he can almost sound like different singers at different. I mean,
he's a chameleon.
He just can really do a lot of
with his voice.
He can sing that real low guttural stuff, and he can get that screaming for vengeance thing going. It's just, I mean, he's just really unbelievable. And then the double guitar attack of Glenn Tipton and KK Downing. I mean, what those guys could do. I mean, these guys in the band we're going to mention for number 1 are like, they both have those exact same things in common. The amazing singer with the 2 guitar players that just really work in tandem really well together. So, without further ado, Number one.
My number one is Iron Maiden. 1975. In my opinion, easily the champion of the movement, especially upon their debut in 1980. One of the leaders of the movement as well. And one of the most successful heavy metal bands in history with little to no TV or radio support. Because that was not really a thing for them. 38 albums, 16 studio albums, 12 live, 4 EP, and 7 compilations. Bruce Dickinson is God. And I love him. And I can't wait to see them.
Amazing.
And their stage show.
Yeah, like a great stage show, of course. And again, they kind of like did. I don't want to say did. I don't. Let me rephrase. I was going to say they did the Judas Priest. That's not what I mean. What I mean to say is that like they have that in common with Judas Priest and Iron Maiden have in common with his amazing vocals with these two guitar players that work really well in tandem. They have a different vibe than Priest. Priest has that's so interesting. Like when you get into the when you really get into the music and you really start really listening to. I mean, to somebody who doesn't know heavy metal or hard rock, you could that all sounds the same.
That's exactly what people say.
Why can you tell the difference? But for the fans, there's like a different. Priest and Maiden, they have a different vibe. There's just there's a different sort of. There's a different aesthetic between the two bands. And I think that one of the things I would definitely say, and you've mentioned this many times about Iron Maiden, is the sort of storytelling aspect to
That's
what they
part
do.
of what I love about it. They tell stories in each one of their songs.
That is not something that Priest doesn't really do that.
No.
Their songwriting structure isn't really like that. So that's something that really sets Iron Maiden apart. And I really feel like Maiden really kind of like brought that sort of like Black Sabbath kind of thing, but like let's speed it up, let's turn it up, let's tighten it up, and they just kind of like took that whole like horror. Well, I mean, with Eddie and the whole thing is kind of like a horror movie kind of vibe going on. And
right.
They talked about how they were, influenced by stuff. We did the show on Number of the Beast.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago. So,
well, they were also talking about the album art on the Iron Maiden debut album. Eddie's featured sort of with a half long hair, half mohawk sort of style, crossing punk over into the British heavy metal. So I thought that was kind of a cool little anecdote in the stories when I was researching bands.
So real quick, just run down your top 10,
okay,
if you could, please.
Yes. Number 10, Samson. Number 9, Diamond Head. Number 8, Angel Witch. Number 7, Def Leppard. Number 6, Girl School. 5 is Venom. 4 is Motorhead. 3, Saxon. Number 2 is Judas Priest. And number 1 is Iron Maiden.
Awesome. We're going to play another song in a minute. Before we do that, why don't we give a shout out to the people who are watching?
Yeah,
right
we got
now.
a lot. So, everybody, thank you for watching. Chris Thunderwolf, Bill Damiano, Mickey Hernandez, Bob Ridgway, Anthony Lamont, Jimmy Wasaki, John Fox, Tim Doverspike, Eric Wong, Jeffrey DePerna. I knew I was going to screw somebody's name up. Scott Paulson, Robert Villarreal, D. Trauma Patron, Bob Mersing, Kelly O'Connor, Samantha Hawkins, Scott Van Zen, Chris Pulaski, Tracy Sampson. I'm sweating to death in here. John Winter, Greg Livingood, Cody Newkirk, Brady Novotny, Lewis Walker, and that's it.
Do me a favor real quick. Fran Crasher
Fran
said
Crasher.
he can't get back. He's trying to get back to the podcast. Can you make
Tag.
a comment, tag him or something? We'll tag you, Fran, to get you back on, buddy. When we're gonna play another band, and we're gonna come back. And we're gonna talk about your picks, because we're gonna run those down real quick and then sort of wrap things up before we get out of here. But because you guys were awesome this week with your chime-ins there on the bands that you loved in the new wave of British heavy metal. So This is a band that I'm really excited for Lily V6 to hear. So
I'm excited since you said it.
This is a band called Fallen Angel from Florida. I'm sorry. The track is called Fallen Angel. The band is called Maiden Cane. Maiden Cane, Fallen Angel, and the Loudini Hard Rock and Metal Circus. Maiden Cane, everybody, from Southwest Florida. That is maidencane.com, Southwest Florida's favorite arena rock band, ready to rock. That's a track called Fallen Angel. It's an original track. They also put on, from what I understand, like a big cover show as well, doing, if you go to their website, they flash all this Kansas, Journey, Boston, Bon Jovi. You can hear vocally that, like, if they can sing like that, that other stuff's easy.
Did you see the thing? The hair is real.
The hair is real. Aerosmith.
Oh, they do Aerosmith? Shit.
Yeah.
It's going to be my new favorite band.
So go check them out, man. If you guys, anybody listening in the Southwest Florida area, and you've been to a Maiden Cane show, let me know how it was.
I would love to go and see them.
Yeah, I'm looking at their website. They look like a lot of fun. It looks like it would be like a really cool band to go see. Probably play like the big casinos and stuff like that.
Oh, I'm sure.
So check them out, maidencane.com. So I want to go ahead and throw a little love at everybody that chimed in with our Facebook posts this week. We always post the question ahead of time and see if what you guys think, get your opinions. And we had a lot of comments on this one this week. So we asked you guys what your top 5 were. Okay, so I want to give a few shout outs. Barb, say her last name for me.
I think it's Hilashevsky, but I could be wrong.
Barb Hilashevsky. Sorry, Barb. You need to come up to me a show and tell me how to pronounce your last name. But I want to give you but thank you. He said no. She likes Angel Witch, Girls School, Saxon, Maiden, Venom. Brady Novotny. Brady, by the way, thank you. You did a great. Yeah, I went to your CD release on Friday. It was my birthday on Friday, and I had a really good time. And you did a great show, man. But anyways, Brady Novotny chimed in with Iron Maiden, Grim Reaper. Oh. We didn't mention Grim Reaper. Def Leppard, Priest, Saxon, John Fox, Def Leppard, Iron Maiden, Priest, Frank Faccioli.
Sure.
Fasoli.
We're not good with names.
Yeah, sorry. Saxon, Angel Witch. We're getting the kind of, there's a cast of characters. See, you guys all have great tastes. That's why these are all kind of similar. But Brian Urso, my bro. Brian, I got to get you on a podcast, man. You have a record out. I want to talk about it. Brian has a band called Gideon's Mob. Very good progressive rock band. Maiden, Priest, Motorhead, Diamond Head, Def Leppard. In that order, too. Okay. Sazba, Sabo, Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. Tim Boyle says Diamond Head, Angel Witch, Blitzkrieg.
Oh, yeah. Guys. Thanks, Tim.
And BC Cliver also threw in the same cast of characters: Priest, Maiden, Saxon, Motorhead, Def Leppard. Guys, thank you so much for chiming in with all of that stuff. It's been a fun show. We are going to pop over and have a few drinks over at LouLombardiRocks.com. Go to LouLombardiRocks.com if you want to hang out at the after party. We are going to possibly talk about maybe what we're going to do next week. I don't know. It's kind of a loose vibe there. We'll see what the hell happens. So if you haven't hit the share button already, please share it. Those of you who are listening, please share the podcast. That's one of the ways that the bands that we're playing on the show kind of get some attention, is you guys sharing this around with your friends. So if you like Mississippi Bones, chances are
your friends
are going to like Mississippi Bones. If you're grooving to Black Whiskey, chances are your friends are going to like it. So you're just helping the bands by doing that. It isn't so much about us, although we like it.
Although we're freaking awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this is all about me, obviously.
So it's all about the Lily V6 show. So anyway, so we're gonna wrap up here in a second. LouLombardiRocks.com if you want to party with us afterwards. If you want to check out the podcast, listen to some of our other shows, go to LoudiniRockandRollCircus.com. Lily, why don't you go ahead and tell about your show, what you got going on?
Sure. My show's on Rock Rage Radio, Lily, Hot Licks with Lily 6 p.m. Thursdays. You can go to the website, stream it right from there, or you can download the app. It's free, rockrageradio.com. Also, I will be going live for Yngwie Malmsteen on Monday at the New Roxy Theater in McKees Rocks. So check that out on the Rock Rage page as well if you can't make the show.
Awesome. And guys, real quick, I'm going to run down the bands before we just boogie on out of here. We opened with Black Whiskey. That's blackwhiskyaus.com. We had Mississippi Bones, mississippibones.bandcamp.com. We just rocked out to Maiden Cane. That is maidencane.com. And we're going to boogie on out of here with some Lou Lombardi Strangelove. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you want to party with us at the after party, go to loulombardirocks.com. And we don't even need an email address or anything like that. You can get right in, and we're going to jump over there and do that in a minute. So, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. This is Lou Lombardi Strangelove. Have a great week. Rock on.
40 nights, a stranger I have been. To the man I thought I knew, and all these unwashed friends. Dirty streets, broken lights with burned out basement sheds. It's not the place that I call home, it's just a place that I know well. Bloody knees, stain the gold on the church and haunted hill. While specters of my past, they return to drink their fill.